Deputy Danny Healy-Rae, please.
Thank you very much, Councillor. First of all, I too want to sympathise with the nurses who are out on strike today, and I ask you, Taoiseach, to ensure that they get properly paid and they get properly remunerated for the work that they do. Today, Taoiseach, I want to raise with you again the road traffic bill that has changed rural Ireland forever, and the social fabric that was known to the people of rural Ireland has been blown to smithereens. Before, during and since Christmas, many people have found that they can't come out, socialise and meet their friends and do the things that they've done traditionally since the foundation of the state. Transport was promised, Rural Link was to get funding, but now we find that it's still on a trial basis and that there's only funding there till the end of March. Minister Ross, Griffin and Hayden promised that they would provide plenty of funding for transport, and yet there is no extension of services that was promised. But what we do have is plenty Garda checks. And it's not the guards are to blame, because it's coming from on high, because it's across every county, it's across every Garda division, and people are being checked going to Mass. They've been checked coming from Mass. An elderly man, indeed, last week was stopped coming home from Mass, bringing his invalided wife home from Mass. It's absolutely ridiculous what's going on. People taking their children to school in the morning, women that never drank, are being stopped, and they're outraged at what's happening. And what's happening now is you've actually turned the people against the Gardaí with your instructions and your directions, because that's what's happening. And I have to clarify one thing here today. 78 of us voted against the bill because it was wrong. 75 of you voted for it, 74 abstained. But I must correct Deputy Brazel, who said in Kerry Radio this morning that Fianna Fáil abstained. That is not true. 11 Fianna Fáil deputies voted for the bill. And that's the truth, and the rest abstained. He actually abandoned the people that voted for him back over the years. Part of the bill is hitting provisional drivers that had provisional drivers. Young people can't drive unaccompanied. Youngsters who need a car to go to school or college, to work or apprenticeship, to sports training. I never interrupted you, and that's the kind of regarding that you're at. When I'm representing the people of Kerry here, all you do is interrupting me, and that's not fair, John Corley. There's parents and mothers out in the morning at 5 o'clock driving their sons and daughters to work, to school, and they're out again in the evening. Just let me finish, John Corley. They're bringing them home, taking them out to football training, and they have to go for them again at 9 o'clock to bring them home, and they're out all day from 5 o'clock in the morning till 9 o'clock at night. That's what you've done to the people in rural Ireland.
Okay, Taoiseach, please.
And they're waiting 9 months for a driving test.
Taoiseach. Thanks very much, Deputy. I think when we talk about road traffic legislation and road traffic laws, we should never forget why we have those laws, and that's because of road safety. Thousands, if not tens of thousands, of Irish people in urban and rural Ireland have lost their lives on the road or become disabled for life as a result of road traffic collisions. And I know many of us have been affected by deaths on the road in our own families, and you never forget the anniversary. And you always think about it at Christmas time and other times of year. And I think when we talk about road traffic, we should never forget the people who've died on our roads and the families that are left behind, because that is the whole point of having road traffic laws. And it is why we've had them. It's why they've been strengthened in recent years. And they have worked. Last year, fewer people died on our roads than any year since records began. And it's in rural Ireland where the lives are being saved, because that is where most road traffic deaths happened and have happened historically. I totally appreciate, though, that for many people, the new roads, the new rules have made it harder for them to get out and about and socialise if that involves taking drink or drinking alcohol in their case. And that's why we have invested in Rural Link. I recall that you criticised that at the time. I'm glad to see that you now want that to continue and to be extended. But we do know that in some cases the uptake has been very poor and the demand has been very poor for some of these services. And I think we need to look at other solutions, and we're doing that, particularly around rural taxis and rural hackney licences, as to whether we can liberalise that and make them more available, particularly at night time and at weekends. In relation to Garda checks, there are more Garda checks because there are more Gardaí. We now have 14,000 Gardaí again in Ireland, and how they're deployed and the work they do is entirely a matter for the Garda Commissioner. It's not done under political direction, and it shouldn't be done under political direction. But bear in mind what Garda checks are all about. It's not just about checking people to see if they're over the limit, have been taking drugs or alcohol before driving. It's not just about making sure that they're taxed and insured. It's also about denying freedom of the road to people who are committing crimes. And there are a lot of people, and you know this very well, who are travelling around rural Ireland and committing some very serious crimes and some very serious burglaries. And the Gardaí say to us that when they run these checkpoints on the roads, they deny freedom of the road to those people who are committing those crimes. So it's not just about drink driving or catching people out. It's about catching people who are burglarising people's homes and farms and businesses.
Taoiseach, Deputy Healy-Rae.
Taoiseach, you're hurting a lot of good people, good living people. And when we talk about deaths, you surely know about isolation and what isolation causes to people. And we're losing a lot of people through suicide. And that is a fact in Kerry and in Cork. And even before and during Christmas and since Christmas, and that is a fact. But I say to you, he promised that he would provide transport and that there was plenty of funding there for it. It's not, he have done nothing, only hurt the people. He promised that he'd do something about the speeding up the driving test. Youngsters are waiting anything from 6 to 9 months to get a driving test. And as a result, parents are out in the morning and they're out in the dark at night trying to keep the family together and try to keep the children going. He have massive harm done to the people in rural Ireland, and he've affected good people that never do harm or never do wrong on the road or never created or caused a fatality or did anything wrong.
Thank you,
but
Deputy.
this is the result of what he's done. He's abandoned the people that traditionally voted for him back over the years. All parties here inside have that done. In spite of how much we fought and how hard we fought to tell him what he was doing was wrong, because you were saying that this was about saving lives. I'll tell you what it was about. It was about saving Ross and about keeping him on his side, regardless of what he asked you for.
Time is up now, Deputy.
And to save a general election. But I tell you one thing, take Ross to the door with you when you go around, whether it's the local election or the general election, and he'll get your answer, whoever he'll travel with. Because there's one thing sure, he won't be travelling with me anyway.
Deputy, people who abide by the laws passed by this Oireachtas have nothing at all to fear from the Gardaí. But people who take alcohol, who take drugs and then drive are a threat to themselves and others. And people who drink several drinks, get a few hours sleep and then drive in the morning are actually impaired. And they do cause accidents and they do kill people and they do cause injuries. And that is a law that should be enforced, and that's what the Gardaí are there to do. On the separate matter, I absolutely acknowledge that there are unacceptable delays in people getting driving licences. It does vary from different parts of the country, and it is something that we're working on. We want to get that waiting time down to more reasonable levels as soon as we can.